We just got the 5 p.m. update from the National Hurricane Center. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for staying with us. I'm Heather Crawford.
And I'm Jeannie Blowout. That update says that Ian is not a tropical storm anymore, but once again is a hurricane. Let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Tim Deegan. Tim?
Thank you, Jeannie. Thank you, Heather. And remember, folks, this is part of the forecast, so don't let that stress you out. It's one of the reasons why today we've stayed under a hurricane watch, whereas South Carolina earlier today was put under a hurricane warning. So this is just part of the forecast. Sure, it'd be nice if this thing would weaken, but I don't want you to be suddenly surprised. This is part of the forecast, and we actually have a little bit of good news. Notice the motion. We were talking about this, but it continues to add up. This position east of Jacksonville by later on this evening and tonight. That's now 120 miles off to the east of us. But that's all of us, right? Not just Jacksonville, folks. First of all, it's going to go by you, those of you in St. Augustine, quickest. It's going to take longer for those of you in Nassau, Camden, and Glen. But if anything, it edges a little farther off away from the coast. And because those of you in Nassau, Camden, and Glen, you're into that cove, you as well, it's going to pass east of you. We have a lot of confidence. We'll talk about why by 120 miles, and if anything, maybe 125 or 30. So too bad it's a hurricane, part of the forecast, headed towards South Carolina. For those of you with friends and family in South Carolina, do want to emphasize, barely as a hurricane. I mean, it's a hurricane, but what I mean by that is nothing like the Cat 4 that slammed into southwest Florida. It's going to be a Cat 1 when it goes ashore. Okay, so what's it all mean for us? Well, it's hard to find the eye. That's actually good news. This is asymmetric. We'll talk about that. So we're still really talking about the same animal we were just moments ago, despite the fact that it's now a tropical storm versus a hurricane. In fact, if you weren't with us, remember it was a tropical storm with winds, sustained winds of 70 and gusts to 80 miles per hour or so offshore, and now it's 75 with some higher gusts. But certainly occasionally some wind gusts to 65 all along the coast, and we're going to keep that until about sunset tonight. And as we've seen, unfortunately, trees come down. The rain, though, is diminishing, and because of a shift in the wind direction, although we will once again have some flooding with tonight's and then early tomorrow morning's high tide, I don't think it's going to be as high. I think we've seen the high water mark. Much more to cover. We'll do that for you in just a bit. Jeannie, Heather?